I'm going to start over because somebody came by and I got embarrassed. Composing diverse identities. Narrative inquiries into the interwoven lives of children and teachers. I think this is up there for my favorite thing that I've read yet. This or Dewey. This is actually co-written by the prof, Janice Huber. So that's kind of cool too, to see what her work is. What it is an attempt to start using narrative story observations, stories of teachers and kids and their experiences, their specific individual experiences, as research. It's a really humanizing idea where the researcher goes into the school and spends a significant amount of time, like 18 months there, takes notes and interviews people and talks to people, but actually becomes part of the community, and then that's where their research comes from. I think it's a huge shift from like clinical studies. I'm not sure what the categories exactly mean, but I think it's an example of action research, or it might be even a step further than action research. I don't quite know the definition of action research. So we just read the kind of introductory chapter. They gave an example of a student, Leah, who was a Somalian immigrant, an older sister, had to take care of her brothers, was late for class pretty often. And they used this example of her coming in late to reflect upon the different stories going on and conflicting in her life. The outside story of you have to wait in the hall while the national anthem's going on, or the inside of the classroom story of you're welcome no matter what time you show up to this teacher's class. And how teachers and students both have their stories that they follow that really inform the decisions that they make. I really believe in it a lot. I think we're narrative beings. As humans, we live by story. And I think it's really powerful to recognize that in an academic sense and actually create a framework in which you can study this on a more human level. I've been advocating for teacher professional feedback, assessment, informal. The fact that I'm with my kids for 6 hours a day should count for some sort of assessment. And I find that often we need a number, or we need some sort of objective standard in order to call something data, or call something information, call something feedback, call something assessment. And I just don't buy it. I would believe a professional teacher who's been with a student for 6 hours a day for 3 months over some diagnostic test that the kid did over a 2-hour period one of the days. I mean, I get the drawback. It's not objective. The teachers, the teacher can be subjective. The teachers can be kind of torn. So that has to be taken into account. But I don't know. It's still data. It's still important. And at my school, sometimes decisions can only be made if you can show the numbers of the data. And I'm hoping to find ways that I can use informal human data as data. And it's really promising that, this is the newest, most contemporary view of curriculum that we've read yet. This piece was posted in 2002. So, another concept that came up was competing stories. The idea that, you have your story of how the world works, and then you come across something that doesn't make sense in your worldview. And that's kind of what forces you to to learn, to change. The cognitive dissonance idea. And I run, that's like what runs my life, is I see things and they either confirm what I think or they don't, and when they don't, I think, how does that make sense? And then I go from there. Confirmation bias is always something to be aware of, but competing stories, yeah, it's pretty much how I learn. This guy Carr had a quote that I kind of loved, which I will leave you with. Our lives admit of sometimes more, sometimes less coherence. They hang together reasonably well, but they occasionally tend to fall apart. Coherence seems to be a need imposed on us, whether we seek it or not. Things need to make sense. We feel the lack of sense when it goes missing, the unity of self, not as an underlying identity, but as a life that hangs together, is not a pre-given condition, but an achievement. Some of us succeed, it seems, better than others. None of us succeed totally. We keep at it. What we are doing is telling and retelling to ourselves and others the story of what we are about and what we are. And I really think this is true. And for me, right now, my story of curriculum is somewhat shifting. And between valuing resources and recognizing that I'm in a space where I'm able to have real autonomy, and that I think that's pretty rare, and so maybe I should appreciate it more. I definitely defend my autonomy in the classroom and myself as teacher, as curriculum maker. So, all right, I think I'm rolling into the 7-minute mark, and I'm going around in circles, so I'm gonna go now.